Hello and thanks for joining. So today we've got another Electrotren model to have a look at. I think it's from the 1970s. It's a Spanish RENFE and I think it's a livestock wagon. It's number 5103 in the Electrotren range and we're going to have a look at that today. This model is second-hand and it comes in this sturdy plastic box, which is typical of Electrotren models of the time. On the back it has Electrotren embossed into the back of the box, and inside it has a plastic tray which holds the model quite firmly inside there. So let's get this open and we'll have a look at this model close up. So straight out of the box, this model really impresses with the amount of detail on the moulding of the main part. And also you'll notice on the roof, it has some shading as well of the grey. Now I don't think that's because of age, I think it actually came from the factory like that. So let's take a look up close. We'll start at this end of the wagon here. You can see that the main moulding is very detailed with some nice relief of the planking on this model. And it has extra parts like these little brackets here moulded in, as well as these handrails here on each of the corners. This looks like an extra part that's been added on and some white has been applied there, and the buffer beam is integral into the chassis and it has the buffers there. They're not sprung or anything, it's quite an old model and they're just moulded in the same brown as the rest of the wagon. As we start to look down the side of the wagon, you can see the pleasant amount of detail and relief into the main plastic moulding. You've got some doors here, those are glazed and they have a little handrail there moulded in as well. And looking down the main body of the wagon, it's been moulded with these slats open so that the animals inside can breathe as they're being transported. And then we have this door here with some printing on it, and you can see the RENFE logo there and some numbers printed down the bottom. It's very nicely done. Even on the deep relief of the moulding, these graphics have been applied very well and you can see them quite clearly there as well. A little bit of a gap on the RENFE logo up here, but it's not too bad at all. And you can see how thick this door is actually here, because this does actually move along this track. It's a bit stiff to move along, but it's quite nice that it opens up and you can see inside the model there. It has some indication of flooring at this point just beside the door, but it doesn't extend the whole length of the carriage, but I guess you don't need it really. However, this does afford some options to add a load into this wagon if you fancy it. And now with the door closed and moving further down, you can see some more detail. The cross bracing here has some rivet detail inside. It's got another logo here. And then further down we've got some more of this slatted effect on the side of the wagon. Down here we have a brake wheel which has been added in as an extra part. It's been moulded in red, and down this end of the wagon it looks very similar to the other end with this additional vacuum pipe and some brackets added in. Looking down at the chassis and the bogies here, you've got some nice detail of springs, and they're quite an interesting design of bogies here. And there's not a lot of detail on it compared to some mouldings, but I think that's probably prototypical. And then in the middle of the wagon you have this additional bracing part here with two holes in it, and you have some writing that's been moulded in as well as some handles. I don't know why that wasn't just added in as a transfer, but it seemed to have moulded it instead. So as we look underneath, we'll start with the bogies here. You can see that it has a metal frame and the plastic of the moulding has been added in around that. So these wheels are fairly free rolling, not too bad at all, and they're darkened as well, which is a nice effect. You can see that the coupling is integral with that metal part, so it's quite strong but you can't change it, and it's typical of Electrotren models of the era. In the middle of this wagon we've got quite a lot of nice detail added in here in the moulding. It's got some tanks, brake gear and pipe work as well, and you can see the Electrotren logo there as well. And here at this end it says Made in Spain. And then we have another bogie here, it's just the same as at the other end. So let's see how much this wagon weighs. So this wagon comes in at 95 grams. So this Spanish livestock wagon from Electrotren has turned out to be quite an interesting wagon, and that's mainly because of the prototype, which is an interesting wagon in itself, and this model has represented it very well, I think. It's indicative of an older model, though it's got some limitations, such as the couplings which you can't change, it doesn't have flush fit glazing, and the plastic moulding is quite thick, especially on the doors. But there's a lot to like about this model. For example, the brake wheels, which are additional parts that have been added in, are a really nice touch. The fact that the door's open and it's got some interior detail allowing you to add some extras if you want is a nice touch as well. The printing of the logos, there's not a lot of logos on this model, but what is there is quite nicely applied, even over the deep relief of the planking. And the shading on the roof is really quite nice as well. It's the part you'd mostly see after all, and from the factory this looks a great finish. And finally, the underframe detail is also very well presented, and it just adds to an overall feel of a lot of attention has been given to this model when it was first moulded, and I think it still stands up beside modern wagons, and I think this could be further improved with some weathering, and I think it would come out really nice. It might be quite hard to get hold of this model. It is getting on a bit now, and it is from Electrotren. Here in the UK it's not a popular brand, so it could be quite tricky to find this. But if you do find it, I think you should add it to your collection, especially if you're modelling Spanish trains of this era. It's an interesting wagon and it brings a lot of detail and options with it. And I think if you found it, you could probably pick this up pretty cheap, so it makes a good value for money addition to your collection. Let me know what you thought about my analysis in the comments below. I'd love to know what you think. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps this channel. I'll put this on the turntable so you can see all the way around. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching. See ya!